sports cars had competition, there was a group of cars that reminded the world to not take life so seriously. The angry edges of rear trunks became smooth and supple. The era of cars where the smiles the driver had matched the design elements of the front, which were usually two angry iMods away from looking like a car that snuck into a Five Nights at Freddy's set. But like all great things, these cars were eventually killed off to make way for overpriced four-cylinders with gallons of RTV and turbocharged rear-wheel drive cars with an acronym that depreciates harder than the sheen haul your girlfriend just did. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Alex Martini, and today we're talking about a car that knew what it meant to be legitimately fun. The car that would blow up faster than you could update your build sheet. Today we're talking about how to modify a Mazda Speed 3. Welcome to Martini Works. Need parts? Mod your car at martiniworks.com. Have a Mazda Speed 3 already built? Congratulations! Add it to our build thread so you can help people mod their car with us because we quite frankly give a shit. Which, by the way, have you ever been confused on what to wear when you go to a car shirt? Maybe you're cruising around with your pals and you just don't know what color black tee you want to put on. Maybe there are times where you're hanging out in the garage and you're thinking to yourself, should I do this shirtless or should I maybe put on a shirt? Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it easy for you here at Martini Works, introducing the tried, the true, the original, the first cruising shirt. Not only this, you can get this perfectly curated t-shirt to also say garage shirt or car show shirt. Or you can get all three for the low price of, I think they put it on the website for like $70. Or you can buy an individual one for $25 a piece. That's not right, it's $30 a piece. You're saving a ton of money. And if you want to pick up a t-shirt and never have to question what you have to wear ever again, you can do that over at Martini Works. That plug was longer than any car part I'm going to talk about in this video. The Mazda Speed 3, the official car of people who love Warhammer 40K edits. Okay, Mazda Speed is one word, and it roughly translates from Japanese to English to roughly, I think it goes f around and find out. Okay, the team of Mazda Speed are the brains and brawn behind cars like the Mazda 787B, an absolute banger. Listen to this.
Through the side doors.
The first road legal car you'd see that is 0% similar to the 787B would be the Mazda Speed Protege, a weird little car that made stu-stu noises with its 170 horsepower turbo front-wheel drive configuration. A year later, we'd see a Mazda Speed Miata, which we strapped a 100-shot of nitrous to one time just to learn how to drift when I lived in Eau Claire. And in 2006, the 6-speed would come and have a Mazda Speed Edition little badge on it and came with the same tried-and-true configuration of power, suspension, and some interior goodies that were way better than the other one. The Mazda Speed 3 would come in at 2007 with 263 horsepower, 280 foot-pounds of torque. How many cylinders? 4. How many turbos? 1. Smiles per gallon? Absolutely, all of them. 6-speed manual transmission, refined draft shafts, limited slip differential, and a big ol' chunky smile on the front bumper. What made the MS3 so fantastic though was its weight, power, and its balance with price. It was something that could beat out the GTI and reminded 20-year-old bang drinkers that there was an option outside of the Subaru WRX. The years were a bit harsh to the first generation, but the second generation still sits at a price point that has people like you and people like me thinking, maybe there's a chance. So how do you modify a Mazda Speed 3? Well, that's easy as long as you heed my warning because you're about this close to blowing one up just as much as you are to have one of the biggest smiles on your faces. Because these are fantastic cars, they just have a smiley, teeny tiny problem, and that's everybody f***s these things up. The MS3 is a Mazda, okay? It's built under the umbrella of cars that also featured a rotary and a higher revving, naturally aspirated car at the same time. So it's good, but it's also not good because Mazda was doing a lot of shit at the same time and they didn't really have a lot of money, which means they kind of cheaped out on some corners, okay? The MS3, the official car for people who build their own PCs. The MS3 is a great car to start on, but here are a few things to keep in mind to keep it alive. Number 1, high pressure fuel pump. I'm not sure why every car from like this era needs to have one of these installed, but you do, and this isn't a want, it's a need. Some early years also reported a timing chain issue, so it's recommended that you get that done either before buying it or ensure it was already done by somebody who knew what they were doing before modding it. Jesus. From there we enter the tune zone. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. The Mazda MS3 is a great tunable car as long as the compression looks like the Nerd's History exam score and you're okay with modifying a car that's a bit like the DSM world. Ever fleeting and kind of dying. Okay, most people will tell Now here's the thing, most people will tell you that a cob access port or similar will be necessary, but with like rules messing all that up recently, we'd simply recommend getting a tune that is in your budget and gives you the ability to pull logs and truly analyze what you're doing, because you'll need it if and when something goes wrong. Cob is obviously the most popular option, but you can go with whatever you'd like. Now the good news here is that most of the items on this car aren't that expensive. Jumping into some like decent BC Racing coilovers from Martini Works alongside some 17 or 18-inch wheels would pretty much make you bang on. Now personally, I've seen things like the RPF1 be pretty much like white bread as an option here, so don't be afraid to mix it up. Biggest thing here is to get the wheels and tires that won't lift the whole thing off the ground, because if you go too big with a tire, the whole thing looks really weird. So keep it nice and simple, like a 6-spoke or windowed 7-spoke, and it'll do wonders in terms of making it look newer. You can touch it up with a little concavity, but the Fitment doesn't really allow it. Most MS3s are daily driven, so go with the DWS06 Plus for tires, and if you live somewhere in winter, you're gonna wanna get the underside like coated, otherwise it is going to rust very fast. Most people would say and would agree that upgrading your turbo inlet pipe, your rear motor mount, and then an intake along with down pipes and glass cleaner for those headlights are going to make your car like 10 out of 10. For Fitment, 18 by 8.5 plus 35 with 225/40s. You can trust us on that. If you want to cut, you can go with 9.5s, and that's on you, baby girl, okay? So once you clean up the Fitment a bit and the wheel gap is gone, these cars actually look really sharp. One of my favorite hot hatches. Most people are buying the 2010 Plus, but even the pre-facelifts don't look like half bad. Biggest thing here is if you're going to make your car annoying as f, make it fast as f too, okay? You gotta do both, otherwise do neither. So what do? Just max it out to 500 horsepower? Okay, pump your brakes, dude. What you need to do is check that the turbo isn't about to off itself, and you'll be looking at like the front bumper just upside down, because it is a little bit expensive to rebuild the whole thing, especially if you take it to a dealership. So how do you modify a Mazda Speed 3? Easy, baby. You grab about $15,000 to grab your very own 50 Shades of Grey Mazda Speed 3, because no other color exists anymore. From there, pat yourself on the back because your parents thought you just made a responsible purchase. Ha! You just bought a car that's about to literally be 2 wings away from being a goddamn jet. You can do pretty much anything you want with this car, which includes coilovers, wheels, and tires, which is gonna make it look a little bit newer. The glass cleaner is gonna help make the car actually look newer. Now, the biggest thing here is you're gonna wanna check your compression before you go modifying the turbo, because if you got low compression, I tell you, bud, these engines ain't the cheapest. From there, you're gonna wanna go pick up your date from CCD class, because you're about to have the best night of your life, because these things are actually fantastic to drive. There's just not a lot of people modifying them anymore, because honestly, the whole premise of a front-wheel drive turbo car that's budget from Mazda is just not a thing anymore. Everybody these days are putting their hair like this and buying BMW 335 N54s and listening to Suicide Boys. But if you want to be different, you buy a Mazda Speed 3 because it's fun as and it's fast as hell. But seriously, and most importantly, if you are looking to buy parts for your Mazda Speed 3, mod your car at Martini Works. This is one of my favorite cars I think I've ever driven and actually almost owned, okay? If you have questions on the platform, drop them below. There's a ton of people out there that love these cars, and there's not a single person that I can say that's bought a Mazda Speed 3 and has done the right mods that can honestly say it wasn't a great experience. It's a blast. The interior is a little dated. The exterior is a lot of fun. The sounds it makes are fantastic, and sure, it's a platform that's not really supported as much as it once was, but that doesn't mean that it's not a lot of fun. I would highly recommend anybody that buys a Mazda Miata that enjoyed the feeling and the spirit of the car, you will love a Mazda Speed 3. It's like the next thing up with 2 extra doors, enough space, and enough noise to make you smile the whole time while you go to college. Let us know what car you want us to talk about next. I'm Alex Martini with 2 underscores on Instagram, and we'll see you on the next one. Adios.